The North Pacific is going bonkers. Will the eddy run on Sunday? And will the barrage of swells stop before the end of the year? The North Atlantic isn't as crazy, but still has a couple of solid storms lining up. Where's the spot to be next week? Along with Korte, I'm Kevin Wallis. Forerunners starts now.
Howdy, Kurt. What's happening, man?
What's going on, Kevin? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, buddy. Happy holidays. Got a few things going on in the North Pacific. What do we say? What happened last week?
A lot going on, man. It's been a great run in the Northern Hemisphere. I'll let you take it here for the Hawaii stuff.
Yeah. So this is the finals of the Pipe Masters. We had back-to-back waves here with the second one, a definite wave of the winner contender from Koa Smith. Kind of all the buzz on the beach and from contest organizers, things like that, was that it was a top 5 wave ever in the Pipe Masters. You can see why. Super late drop, doggy doored that thing. Pretty crazy. This is the first of what are basically 5 XL to XXL swells. Had epic conditions for the Masters to wrap in. And shout out to John Warren. He was the forecaster on duty for this event. Had a couple of comments from event organizers too. Toughest forecast to pin down in a very long time. John really picked the eyes out of it. Big and gnarly on Wednesday, but ultimately doable. And we've had just swell after swell since then. It's been going off. Jaws has been going off. The Bay has been going off. So overall, just a crazy run that we've seen over the last couple of days. And hey, it didn't stop here in the North Pacific. That energy, this is actually a different swell. This swell was hit Mavericks on Tuesday, peaked in Northern California. Now it's a little bit slow in the morning, but really got good through the afternoons, the evening session here. Glassy conditions all day. That tide drop wasn't like a crazy mad swell, but obviously really solid. We'll see Twiggy's wave here. I think one of the better waves, if not the best wave of the day. Just beautiful conditions. Nice kind of longer period west-northwest swell. Things have settled a little bit on the West Coast, relatively speaking, the last couple of days, but we're really going to ramp back up here as we move through the weekend and into next week with a couple more swells on the way, and Mavericks absolutely coming back into the fold and going to be much, much, much bigger than what we see here. So that's kind of what's going on in the North Pacific. Kurt, what else happened? I think we had some action down in West Oz too.
Yes, we did. Yeah, I feel like every time at Forerunners we talk about how the Indian Ocean doesn't have an off season; it just kind of has shoulder seasons and a peak season. So, no question about whether you're going to continue to see waves come out of there. But really, some great footage coming from some of our Western Australia cams, just pristine, groomed, offshore winds. You can see North Point here. Off season, like, come on. It's pretty amazing that the storms that we saw there. I know we talked about one that had 40-foot seas in the last Forerunners. And again, just, South Indian Ocean continuing to produce there. So, it is amazing. A lot of the attention is in the Northern Hemisphere this time of year, just because that's where we typically see most of our strong storm activity. But, there's still plenty of action going on down in the Southern Hemisphere this time of year for some zones. So always great to see. And just, I love the mix and match of here's Hawaii, here's California, here's Australia. It's really cool to see. So I love it.
We had a lot of blue in our recap this week. Even Mavericks look somewhat blue, maybe like a concrete green gray, but overall looking pretty good. But hey, let's get down to brass tacks here, man. We gotta give the people what they want, and that is the eddy forecast. Is it going to run on Sunday? We've got a big northwest swell heading to the islands on Sunday, the 5th in a series of crazy swells. Up until now, we've been mostly in the XL range. The swell for Sunday has the potential to be XXL, and that's what you're looking for the eddy forecast. You need a lot of specific things to happen. You need 20-foot surf all day. Swell can't peak overnight or anything like that. You need good conditions, obviously, and you need a pretty specific swell for Waimea to get up into that 20-foot range. So this is a quick animation of what we've seen the last couple of days. I'm going to move over to a screen share here in just a second, and we can have a look at what's going on. This is Kurt. This is a chart that is near and dear to both of our hearts. Our directed fetch chart here, and it shows energy pointed down, wind specifically that's lined up on Hawaii. Hawaii here, just right here in the middle of the screen. This is our deepening storm here, the center of it, and this was taken at 2 a.m. local time in Hawaii. So this is the start of this storm. What are the things we've been talking a bunch, obviously, about this storm, this swell for the eddy, and helping some contest organizers a little bit with some forecast, or a lot bit, I should say. What are the things that you're seeing that you like? What are the things that you're seeing that maybe give you pause for or a pause for concern, a little bit worried about? I have a few, so you go first, and then and we can get into mine.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about Waimea, I think of it as like Goldilocks, like it's right in the middle, right? Like you need to have a couple different variables line up. You need to have a really strong storm. You need to be relatively close, but not too close. And you need like kind of all these variables, this sliding scale, to all kind of line up for it to produce the waves that we need at the right time of day, right? For all those things to come into alignment. Don't happen very often. That's why we don't run it every year, which is a pretty cool thing, right? Because it's like a different type of forecasting for me. Is there's the, hey, you got 10 days, you need to find 3 of them, and you just kind of be like, okay, well, all I got to do is find the 3. It doesn't matter how, you just find the best ones. It's not your job to decide whether there's another 10-day window in 2 months that might be better or something like that. So the Waimea, like the eddy, is just such a unique forecast. So just from that side of things, from what we're trying to do, looking at it, if you think about like the almost eddy swell, and then what was it, 10 days later, you have the probably the best eddy that's ever been run. And it's almost like, gosh, if you pull the trigger on the first one, we really have been shooting ourselves in the foot here. If that next one came. So specifically with this swell, like one of the things, obviously it's intensifying, it's strong, it's relatively close to Hawaii, but the track is not, great for me. Like you really want the storm to be tracking down. There's a few reasons for that, right? Like there's swell production. You want the strongest winds moving in unison with the swell that's being generated, that's directed directly down towards your area of interest. So you kind of get a little bit of a side swipe, some sideband energy that can make it not quite as big as what you would see if you just look at that animation. You think, oh my gosh, it's going to be freaking massive. But a lot of times there's these small little variables that can make and break a forecast. I've been ranting now for several minutes, so I will pass it back over to you. You said you had a few things that maybe concerned you or that you liked with the storm. What are you seeing?
Yeah, so as you mentioned at the top, it's kind of like this Goldilocks type of storm, right? Where for the bay to really get big, like 20-foot plus, 30 to 40-foot faces, you need a really big deep water swell. And I know that can kind of sound obvious, like if you're dealing with big waves, but the bay does differ from, think about a spot like Nazare, a spot like Jaws, especially, that can take a relatively modest deep water swell, say like a 10 to 12-foot swell, but at long periods can create huge waves. So a 10 to 12-foot swell could create 40 to 50-foot waves. Whereas Waimea just doesn't focus the long period energy like that. Actually, some of that long period energy gets stolen away by some of the nearby outer reefs, alligators and outside log cabins. And so you need this just really big deep water swell at slightly shorter swell periods. And for that to happen, you obviously need a big, strong storm, but then you also need that storm to be moving towards Hawaii. That's key, and be pretty close too. You want it to be around 1,500 miles or less. So we're checking a lot of the boxes with this particular storm. It's big. It looks like it's going to be incredibly strong. Seas are modeled to be at around 55, possibly even 60 feet. The red flag is that track, and as we look maybe back to the satellite imagery real quick here, we can see it just moving pretty much straight to the east. Even looks like it's lifting slightly north of east. You'd much rather see that storm dive down towards Hawaii to really push all of that energy, get like a direct hit on the islands versus kind of like the sideband energy, like a side swipe. The hope is that this thing will just be strong enough and close enough that we get enough swell in there and it gets up to that 20-foot range. And that was certainly the thinking. There's a lot of good things going for the storm, this projected storm. And it's a hard one to pass up because of all those things. Well, the other thing we've been talking about a bunch too is Charlotte Perry, when he put together the seasonal outlook for Hawaii just maybe a month or so ago, one of the things that he found was that we were very likely going to get a strong run of surf in December, strong run of swell in December, but things could really slow down quite a bit in January and February. And like I always say, you have to take seasonal forecasts, very long range forecasts with a grain of salt. They generally can do a pretty good job of identifying trends, but can sometimes miss single storms, or often miss single storms, and that single storm could be all the difference. It could create a swell. But when we looked at that long range forecast, it was like, okay, December looks like it's going to be really active. January and February looks like they have a chance to be pretty slow. So you put all those ingredients together, and it's like, man, you got to go and think that the bay probably be 18 to 20 foot on Sunday, Hawaiian scale. Looks like it could be slow to start, like early morning, dawn, and then really come on around 8 to 9 and build through the day. Looks like that swell would peak at around 2 to 3. So that's ultimately why it was called on. Green light. The final call is going to be made from the sand on Sunday. So we'll see what Liam McNamara and the other contest directors decide, or contest organizers decide to do. One other thing, and we pulled this up right before we came on air here, and here's a satellite pass, and so we've got a satellite running through the storm here, and I'm not sure how obvious my cursor is, but we matched that up over here to these dark polka dots are what was measured in the storm. These red dots are what was forecasted for that storm. In this case, it's very early on, but we can see that this storm is underperforming a little bit. I'm not going to say that's a deal breaker yet, Kurt, but it doesn't give me the warmest, fuzziest feelings yet. I don't know. How about you?
I mean, sure. You want it to be over in our business, I think. But like, this is a rapidly developing system. It's a hurricane force low. Like, there's, if you think about what's going on in that storm right now, it's pretty freaking chaotic. That swell is being generated pretty rapidly. So the fact that maybe the beginning of this where, the models are a little bit above what we're actually observing, that doesn't mean that trend is set in stone from here on out. And not only that, but one of the things we do here at Surfline is we take this information, we integrate it into our model, we assimilate this observation. Francisco Silva, who does our forecasting, awesome dude, has helped redefine how we do this stuff and load us our swell model. So this information will be integrated in. I would suspect the next run that comes out here in 6 hours will kind of trend down just a little bit with the swell, but subsequent observations that we get, whether that's satellites or buoys, will help us further refine our expectations, not only with timing. You mentioned the potential slow start there first thing and then building through the day, which is, personally, that's the trend you want, right? You don't want it to peak early and then be on the downward trend. So then the end, the finals and stuff like that run in some of the smaller surf that you see over the course of the day. You'd rather have the reverse, potentially a slow start with it picking up, pretty substantially through the morning and into the afternoon. That's what you want. If it's not going to be just massive all day, I guess that's actually probably what you really want. This is one tidbit of information amongst thousands of data points that we look at to tell us, okay, we'll hope this is not a continued trend. But the storms ahead of this, we also saw some of the initial passes come in a little bit cooler than what the models were doing. And subsequently, as that storm matured and we saw the swell actually develop, the bulk of that energy actually came in above, and we were looking at this the storm that's ahead of this one here on that image. And that's actually several feet above guidance now. I think the last pass I looked at was somewhere between 4 to 7 feet or something like that through it. So again, one data point, it makes me sweat a little bit, but it doesn't make me,
Not a deal breaker.
I'm not taking a cold shower or anything over it. So
yeah.
But you're the one in the hot seat. I'm just over here talking about it. So
I would, to your point earlier, just this. So the third in this series of the swell, second. The swell they hit on Thursday. Now I can't remember. I think it's the second. That one again came in a little bit lower and then really pulsed in the afternoon yesterday and the evening. Yesterday evening, Jaws was talking to Billy Kemper, and he's like, "Oh man, there were a couple sets that were like 25-foot Hawaiian at the end of the day." So that's the hope here as we gather more data, continue to watch the satellite imagery, see if there's a possible dip of this storm down towards Hawaii. I think it's unlikely that that's going to happen, but hopefully we see this storm kind of ramp up and really deliver what we want. As of now, we're still. Go ahead.
I was going to add one more thing, and just like as I look at this, like you said, we saw this right when we came on here, but you also need to analyze exactly where that miss is and where that swell is going, right? Yeah. Because with this west-east track, it's potential that that's all west or west-southwest swell, which frankly we don't really give a shit about. For this, what we're worried about is the stuff that's from, like those west, northwest, or northwest winds and the swell that's being generated there. So like where this is, like what quadrant it is in and stuff like that. Like, again, we'd rather it be over, okay. But it's potential that this is not even really that much of a concern. Like that leading edge part of it may actually be what's more interesting, and there's only a small miss there. So you start to compile these data points, and you start to get an idea of exactly, through triangulation a little bit where exactly that miss is and whether it's actually going to impact your forecast or not. But like I said, this is going to be assimilated into the model, and we'll continue to refine stuff. But this is the fun stuff. You get observations like this and you can dig into this a lot. And I'm excited about the forecast. I'm excited about potentially watching some big waves on Sunday.
Yeah, and it's cool. Like, I mean, for those of you that are joining us, thank you, number one, and then number two, like we are doing this pretty much in real time. Like we literally just pulled the satellite imagery up, and I think both of us said, "Uh-oh," a little bit, but at the same time,
I have a couple other words that I added in there, but
PG rated show here, Kurt. We'll see. Hey, the next 12 hours are going to be really important. Cross your fingers. I know we all want to see this go. I think it's probably the most prestigious event in surfing, and it's so special when it's able to run. So fingers crossed that the storm can really ramp up here in the next 12 hours or so. We'll keep our eyes on it. We're going to be doing a bunch of real-time coverage from a forecast perspective on this storm and this swell. So keep an eye on Surfline here in the next couple of days, and we'll keep you up to date. And fingers crossed that we can run. Okay, now that we've blathered on for an hour here, it's time to see if you were paying attention at all. You cut out. I don't blame you. But we've got our Surfology 101 quiz, the Waimea Bay edition, and that is, what is the ideal swell period for Waimea Bay to maximize size? Is it A, 12 to 15 seconds, B, 15 to 18 seconds, C, 18 to 21 seconds, or D, very long period, 22 plus seconds? Stay tuned. We're going to answer after our global outlook and purple blob of the week, which is coming up right now.
Let's take a look at what we have around the world, right? Like, okay, let's pull up the, I think we're going to start with the global animation, right? So take a look here, and surprise, surprise, the North Pacific is lighting up. So is the North Atlantic.
Center of it all.
Yeah, southern hemisphere. There's blobs down there, but you know what? Like, there's enough going on up here right now.
Sorry, we gotta look.
We're gonna take a break. You're gonna get plenty of waves. It's okay. Let's take a look at the North Atlantic. We'll start with the North Atlantic, and we actually have a pretty strong storm. Hurricane force low is going to have 40-foot seas up there, just south of Iceland. Storm's going to track into the Norwegian Sea. Send a nice shot of swell down to Western Europe. Also going to have high pressure build in behind that. And that's going to set up some pretty nice conditions as we head into early to mid next week. So around Christmas, Boxing Day, shaping up to be some pretty fun waves across portions of Western Europe with favorable conditions. So that will be a nice little run of waves there for those spots along the parts of Western Europe. And on the East Coast, it's cold, small. Go somewhere warm, or head west. We'll take a look at the North Pacific with Kevin.
Yeah, and obviously we got a ton of activity going on. Before potential Eddy Day on Sunday, there's going to be another big northwest swell on Saturday. Should be peaking in the morning for the islands. Looks like an insane day of surf. Jaws should be going off again with really light wind. That swell eventually makes its way to the west coast as we move through the end of the weekend on Sunday and into Monday. A lot of west in this swell, so that means Southern California really gets lit up by it. Northern California, obviously, too, will easily be the biggest swell of the year so far, but not going to be the biggest swell for too long because it's got a bigger brother coming behind it. Compared to our really big swells each of the last 2 years, just about this time. So, end of 2023, just before New Year's, we had a big one. And then the beginning of 2023, we also had a really big west swell, Wild West and Wilder West. Not going to be quite in that realm, a couple notches to a few notches smaller, but, really solid surf out of the west on Sunday and into Monday. And then the eddy swell arrives, super, super, super long period energy could start to arrive in Northern California on the same day that it lights up Waimea on Sunday. We're not talking much size, but like 28 to 30-second swell period energy could potentially start to show, around midnight on Sunday, which is pretty wild. And then that swell really filling in for Northern California through the day on Monday, or really just filling in overnight. A little more north in it than the previous swell, but it's going to be exceptionally strong, tons of energy, really long period. When swells like this come along, where we've got significant energy at like 22 to 24 seconds, the ocean and different waves behave in such wild ways to me. It's kind of a freaky thing to see. So, pumping surf for basically California for the next several days. Looking at specific like a spot like Mavs for the really big one. We're still uncertain on the wind on Monday. One of the models has shown really good wind. Another model has shown that storm actually breaking through and setting up some southerly winds. So we'll see what happens there. We'll iron out those details in the next couple of days. Southern California, will generally have favorable conditions, especially in the morning. So lots and lots of surf lining up for the next few days for the U.S. West Coast. That energy gets all the way down through Baja, down into Mexico, Central America too. A good rule of thumb for the Central America spots. About a week after the eddy swell, an eddy caliber type of swell is when you're going to see it in Central America with pumping surf. The models tend to underestimate how big the surf is too down through Central America. So lots and lots and lots of surf. This is obviously our purple blob of the week here in the North Pacific, and it's going to be going off. So, all right, we're going to swing back to Waimea real quick, get our quiz question answer. And again, what's the ideal swell period for Waimea Bay to maximize size? 12 to 15 seconds, 15 to 18 seconds, 18 to 21, or 22 plus seconds. And the answer, Kurt, is
B, 15 to 18 seconds. And the reason why you touched on during your chat is that longer period energy is refracted away from Waimea by alligators in outer log cabins, which I distinctly remember Sean Collins talking about in the making the call video. That's now probably 20 something years old. But it's really interesting, the bathymetry for outside of Waimea is it's not all that crazy for Waimea. Like you compare it to some of the other spots around the world, like Nazare, obviously with the canyon, or some of the other big wave spots that, like you said, can take that longer period energy and really maximize it. There's again that Goldilocks type thing with Waimea, where that period gets too long, it starts some of that longer period energy refracts away.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So we need that really big deep water swell and lots of energy in the 15 to 18 second range, and that should be filling in through the day on Sunday. Again, fingers crossed this storm really ramps up over the next 12 hours and we get to watch bombing Waimea on Sunday. So, Kurt, we're going to close with a recap of the epic Eddie Aikau event from January 2023. Happy holidays to you, my man. Happy New Year to everyone out there. Happy holidays as well. Hope you score a few waves to close out 2024. We're going to be back with our next edition of Forerunners sometime in early 2025. So until then, we'll see you out in the water.
That's Landon McNamara, Niklaus, John Florent, Healy, Tyler Laurent, Luke Shepard.
That was the biggest wave of the day, I think.
I think so. Look at this one. Orange. That's Landon McNamara.
Wow, amazing wave for Landon. That was a big one. And there was a part of the rodeo ride where it looked like it was uncertain if he was going to make it or not, but rides around that. Beautiful drop. You can see how he's behind the section. The wave is barreling behind him. Has to widen his stance to ensure that he can make it through that heavy part. And does so successfully.
Sometimes you're dropping in, eyes
Look at
closed.
this one. Zeke Lau, speaking of dropping in, makes this big wave. Let's see if he can get through that explosion.
Hold on, brother.
Awesome.
Flat down right there. Get ready. Oh, that last one kind of got him, but
That wave, look at that. It closed out the whole channel.
it was huge. Very well.
Oh, look at that one. So steep and deep and late. Explodes behind him. Comes out of that whitewash. That is a tall, huge wave.
The drone shot coming around. Oh, look at the wave connecting across the bay. You see where Zeke is, and you see the feathering crest right there. A closeout, if you will. Biggest wave of the day, I think.
I think so. Look at this one. One more taker. Luke Shepherdson with a giant drop. Shepherdson outrunning the avalanche, and he eventually gets eaten up.
Just as large as Billy's wave. Luke Shepherdson doing great work, staying on the board for as long as he did.
Here he goes. John Florence drops into this one. Long wall in front of Florence. Negotiates that drop handedly. Looks like this wave may just close out the bay. John, why does he make it look so casual, Isaiah?
Back into great form. Look at this wave. Beautiful drop. Wave barrels out behind him. He's able to come around that white water. Great one for John.
John Florence making it look easy, airdropping into this huge wave.
Wow. Healy.
Mark Healy again.
Oh,
He's relentless in this heat. Can he survive that white water? Yes, he does.
Oh
Mark
my
Healy.
gosh.
He wants it.
Oh, come on for the goofy foots.
This
Let's do
could be
it.
the one. This could be the goofy foot hero.
Oh, come on, Mark. Look at that.
Mark Healy.
Freaking wave was so huge. Oh my gosh. Nearly falling toe side. Mark Healy, you saw the fluttering airdrop of that, and then being able to hold on through this avalanche of whitewater was sheer will, commitment, a lot of training going into that survival right there. But look how much water surrounds him.
He just disappears in that white water, comes back out.
That was nuts.
Looking at him right now, he wants some more. And how intimidating is this wave coming at him? And Healy just decides to point it.
This is from the Haleiwa side of the bay, the left coming across. And, but it is just an amazing drop right there for Black.
Tyler Laurent,
Wow.
second
Still
generation big wave rider from Maui. And
Liking the feeling there. He was claiming it. Hand over the head. Yeah.
celebration time for Tyler Laurent.
Here we go out the back in Black. Tyler Laurent. That is a massive eddy type wave.
Oh, look at this set.
Wow. That's white. Luke Shepherdson
Again.
scoring. So we might see Luke's name sliding up that leaderboard as he has turned in a couple of good rides in this last heat. Basic grit and bear and try to hold on.
Shepherdson from this angle shows the true size of this wave. And then that high line to complete it.
I thought he was gonna try to re-entry or something. It's crazy like that, but
The champion, Eddie Aikau.